are so excited to have on our podcast today our dear friend, awesome guy, amazing person, Luis Hernandez, which I have known for 11, 12,
About
13,
12 years now?
14 years. Yeah, no, we went to grad school together.
That's new math, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, no, that's insane. We've known each other a long time. We met in 2011, Louis,
Wow.
if you can.
That's 13 years. I did the math for you.
12.
She's got it. That's,
wow.
That's crazy. Yeah, you're right, 2012. Oh, man, that's nuts. And he is the owner of Pioneer Group Realty. He's also known as the real estate guy and podcaster, which he's going to tell us all about.
Yes.
So, Louis, welcome to Trailblazing for Success. Yay!
Yeah. Thanks, guys. I always love hanging out with you guys. It's so much fun.
That's awesome. So tell us a little about you. Give us the full lowdown, Louis. Who are you?
On your business and on your podcasting.
Sure. So my business is called Pioneer Group Realty. And we're essentially, Bruce, I've pretty much been in real estate since I was about 20 years old. So it's a brokerage / investment firm, moving more away from the brokerage to just investing ownership and forming syndications and what have you in different asset classes that we see as being opportunistic right now. Like small multifamily, office, retail. There's a lot of really good opportunities out there, I think, that are just starting to come out. And so we're trying to take advantage of that. There's that. And we still broker, still do some residential, pretty much anything with real estate. I've kind of tried it all and I like it all. I know the right thing to do is just pick one lane and really focus on it. But as you know, I got ADHD, undiagnosed, but it's pretty clear. And so I love all of it. I love analyzing it. I love trying to figure out how to take, a piece of coal and turn it into diamonds with real estate. So it's really fun. And then the other thing is
that, you've got a show that you do. So let's talk about Wayfinder.
Yeah, the Wayfinder Show podcast. We've been going since February 20 of 2023. Nice. Every Tuesday we've aired an episode, and just last week we now are up to 2 episodes a week, every Tuesday and Friday. Thank you. So we interview badasses to talk about their journey into badassery.
I love it.
It's really fun. I cannot believe how much fun I'm having with this. Like if I could figure out how to make a living, when I figure out how to make a living with this, like I might actually retire from real estate because this is just a lot of fun. Meeting some amazing people. Yeah. And it's become easy. For a while, I just thought I wanted a podcast and I committed to doing it for a year with a co-host. And we were just trying to get people on and learn from them and inspire others through sharing their journeys and what have you. And it was hard to get anybody to come on. And then something happened around a year in where like people just discovered us. And now I get like 2 or 3 people who reach out to me now to come on the show. I'm just like, I'm just little Louis, this, but it's pretty cool. It's really, really humbling. And when I talk to these people, I'm just like blown away. I'm like, how did I get in a room with you guys, a virtual room with you guys? And so it's really, really cool. So it's really fun.
I'm going to rebrand you, Louis. Instead of, I'm just little Louis.
Yeah.
You are Big
Louis.
Big Louis.
Big Louis.
It sounds like you're from The Sopranos.
You talked to Big Louis.
Louis.
Big Louis is the best.
That's right. Forget about it.
Forget about it.
He's got things to say.
He's a good listener.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. You're good. Yeah, I know people. I know a guy. No. What's funny about that is when I was in high school, I went to like a high school with like everybody was a son of immigrants, right? And or daughter, a child of immigrants from Latin America, particularly. So every boy was probably like Luis, Juan, Carlos, one of those like 3 or 4 names. So like all the Luises were we all got different nicknames, right? And so I had little Louis, but yeah, there was probably I can come up with every nickname for Louis out there. There was a big Lou out there. He was Portuguese actually. But yeah, it was funny. it was so I feel awkward with Big Lou, especially if you guys know how big I am. So it's not
You're
very
big
big
in
at all.
spirit.
That's
Louis.
right.
You're big in spirit.
Yes.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
We'll go
Thank
with
you.
that.
Big in
Thank you.
heart.
Yes.
Big in talent.
That's right.
Big in smarts.
Spinning and
Thank you.
running marathons.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
So I have a question for you. I would
Go
love to
for it.
know, we'll talk about the business side a little bit. And of course, I definitely want to dig into Wayfinder. I think it's so cool that you're doing that and that you've committed to doing
Thank you.
that for as long as you have. So my question for you is, so real estate, what we've seen kind of since, COVID for sure, is this pull away from commercial real estate into, kind of stay at home or hybrid experiences, businesses moving away from bigger offices or kind of changing up where their locations are and that type of thing. How has that impacted the work that you do? What are you seeing there with that?
Yeah, great question. I think what we've seen is, like you said, during COVID, everybody went to work from home, right? So it was like you had, theoretically 100% occupancy to 0% occupancy in these offices. And as time went on, it started to become clear that we weren't going to return to 100% occupancy, right? It was somewhere more than 0, but less than 100. And so people really started to reconsider the office, right? And so I think because of that, a lot of areas are have had to, they've been downsizing. And so there's a lot of empty space available. So, and you're seeing this most affected in the central business districts, your downtowns throughout the country. Denver is kind of an anomaly in this country because we kind of have two office sectors, right? We have your downtown and we have like the Denver Tech Center. Or Cherry Creek, even that whole corridor from Cherry Creek and Cherry Creek is actually, I don't know if it still is. I haven't looked at it recently, but as of a couple of months ago, it was like the #1 office sector in the country.
Wow.
They're actually building office buildings in Cherry Creek, which is amazing.
Yeah, I was there recently.
So what was happening is as people were going back to the office in downtown, downtown wasn't the same. Businesses shut down, so you couldn't go out for lunch anywhere cool. And then, the homeless populations grew there and it just got to feel pretty unsafe. So, people were like, hey, I'll go back to the office, but just not there. So what's happened is people are looking for other office areas. Suburban office has grown. And here in Denver, Cherry Creek and the Tech Center's still not great, but it's better than downtown. And Cherry Creek is doing really well. So I think that's the difference. I do think I got totally wiped out, as you guys know, in 08. And I was only really in residential. But from that's kind of why I went back to school to learn about business and cycles and how to analyze better. And I look at office now as a huge opportunity. I really do. I don't think I think downtowns are remaking themselves. I think Denver is going to be at the forefront of that. I really like what they're doing with the 16th Street Mall, for example. I think I think 3 to 5 years from now, it's going to be pretty desirable again. I actually am under contract for a client on a condo right in downtown, right behind Union Station. Really nice condo, and it's a steal. Yeah. And so I'm bullish on downtown living in the near, like I'd say, the 3 to 5 year mark. Office might be a little bit longer, but it won't be too long. I think we're starting to see companies are starting to force people to be back. Hey, you want to work with us? You got to come back to the office. You know what I mean? Yeah. And people are demanding that. My partner who has a management company, he downsized his office a lot. And then he started realizing productivity started going down. Innovation was going down. The team camaraderie was going down, and he started making them come back. And now they have to, get more space again. So, I think everything goes in cycles. I think right now is a really good time to get office product, especially those small, the big institutions, they're buying for the long term, those big, new skyscrapers and all that, they know it's going to come back and they're just buying and holding, and they'll just figure out what to do with it later. But like for normal people like us, I think we can buy those little class, like the stuff that was built around the 60s, 70s, that had like awkward designs.
Yes.
I think there's really good opportunity for buying one of those. Maybe if you have a business, use an SBA loan to move in and take over, half of the building, 51%, and then you can get like incredibly good terms and then rent out the rest to probably pay for that loan.
Little mid-century modern buildings and things like
nice.
that.
What's your impression, Louis? I know
cool.
there's some movement about, changing some of the regulations such that commercial buildings could become residential buildings, right? So turning mixed use buildings where let's be honest, Denver is not unlike other cities where we have some challenges with living capacity, right? So where can we go and cost? It's gotten outrageously expensive. Do you think that might be a potential stopgap for fixing our kind of longer term challenge with places to live?
Yeah, I'll say yes and no. I think it's funny. I was actually in a meeting this morning with a few other investors who they're developers, and they've been looking at this for a while. And we're hearing this across the board. It's just not realistic. I think it's around 10% of any of these office buildings are actually cost effective to convert to residential. Wow. Just how you have to redo the plumbing. Think about some of these office buildings. They got one central. It might be a floor will have the bathroom in the middle, and then all the offices on the perimeter. Well, if you have a condo and when you convert those to condo, you need a bathroom for each unit, right? And so then you got to redo all the plumbing, and that can be really expensive or not achievable. So some of the ones that I think a lot of the ones that are really going to be hurting a lot in the land value might justify just buying them to scrape and convert to and just put up housing. Mm-hmm. But I think the housing demand is just so large that that will be a small piece in the really desirable areas where it will be cost effective to convert some of these. That'll happen. Or if the building design allowed for it to be easy, but there's very little of that with offices. And otherwise, it's just going to wind up being about 10%. But if you have 10% there, and then another 30% from new construction, and then some redevelopment, I think we'll get there. Eventually, like all cycles, I think everybody finds solutions. They rush into it, ends up getting overbuilt, and then we have a downfall there. So I think we'll figure out how to get there with residential.
Yeah.
But we're a ways away.
So another question. In thinking about the industry that you're in and the work that you do, the people that you meet, your ideal clients, all of that, what would you say is kind of, what we do? We dabble in the soft skills and helping people with the soft skills of business and relationships. What would you say in your mind is kind of the number one skill that you need in the work that you do in real estate right now, that you see as a need or you see as lacking, that is kind of that magic secret sauce in relationships today?
I really think that's a really good question. I think it's hard to say one, right? Communications is always really big, just being able to clearly communicate with people and not being afraid of it, right? I mean, I think because on the brokerage side, we're always we kind of eat what we kill, right? If we don't sell something, we don't make any money. So we're always worried about, are we going to say the wrong thing and it won't go? But I think more and more, just that I've learned the more direct and frank I am, no matter, even if it ends up coming off wrong, it's very essential, right? So direct communication is really important. I also think like now more than ever, having that creative mind to think about things very different on everything is really important, because real estate is shifting so much all the time. Think about just in residential since 2020, right? Since around this time of 2020, all right, 2020, we had COVID. This was March of 2020 when it really hit the fan, right? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, like the governor passes a law that, hey, you can't go look at houses, you can't have open houses, nothing like that, because you're going to contaminate everybody, right? So if you wanted to buy a house, you had to go and put an offer in on it without seeing it. And then if you're under contract, then you go and you got to, get super sanitized and all that, just to go look at the house and then decide if you want it or not. Right. And you were overpaying, or I shouldn't say you were overpaying. You're offering more than they were asking, and you're competing against everybody, all kinds of things. And your house might have been crap and you weren't inspecting it and all of that. Very quickly, you were able to go look at the house, and you were like in there looking at them with like, dozen other parties at the same time, and then there's a line out the door for them. Right. And that went on. And then all of a sudden it's not like that. Like if the house is no good, like if it's not a really nice house, then, it's not really going to sell. All of a sudden pricing matters, like people are like, oh, that's the price. Well, shoot, I can't afford it. Rates change. All this, I mean, so many different factors all within just 4 years. Real estate used to be the like get rich slow game, right? Everything moves so slowly. You can see the wave coming. Now it changes all the time. Right now we have another law kicking in next month where sellers no longer have to pay the buyer's agents, right? And that's going to be really interesting because a lot of people got into real estate as buyer's agents because they thought, oh, I'll become a gazillionaire by just going and opening doors for somebody else to go look at their house, right? And well, now you got to prove your worth, right? Because you gotta be able to ask for your commission all of a sudden. If you're not worth it, people are just gonna be like, what? I'll just go open my own door, right? So, I mean, it's changing so much so fast. So you gotta be willing, you gotta be able to like stay in it, study the market, and be willing to adjust to stay in there. You know what I mean? All the time, like pivot. I mean, pivoting happens all the time now in our market.
No kidding. Being creative is really important, and I think. To be flexible, right? To admit what you're seeing is what you're seeing, and then try something. Just try it, right? Totally. Because you might not have the answer right away. So you've got to step in the ring. We were talking with another gentleman that we interviewed fairly recently, and he's in the business of connecting founders with investors wanting to sell their business. And one of the things he said is, you can be a leader in a business standing on the sidelines waiting for everyone else to make an impact in the market, or you can be the one jumping in the pool. And, all day, every day, I'd rather be the one jumping in the pool and figuring it out.
Sometimes that pool is 6 inches deep. Sometimes it's 20 feet deep.
Hopefully it's a little
somewhere
more
in the
than
middle.
6 inches. That would hurt. That would hurt.
Well, hopefully you jumped in feet first and not head first. That's what I would say. So Louis, speaking of pivoting, let me ask you another totally different question. So you've been in a lot of different industries, although you said you've spent the bulk of your career in real estate. I'm curious to know what the best piece of advice you've ever been given in your life has been. So it could be personally, it could be professional, but what is that nugget that somebody told you that you're like, hey man, if this is the one thing that I could give to people, this is it.
Oh, it's your nugget.
It's your nugget. It's Louis nugget. Oh, that doesn't sound right.
Little Louis
nugget?
Lesson.
Okay.
Little Louis Lesson.
That's better than Little Louis nugget.
No, we don't want to call it a nugget.
Lesson's
it's a
better.
Lesson. Alliteration.
I think the one that right now, if you ask me this again in 2 minutes, I'll have a different one, right? It's just so hard to have one. Those are such trap questions. But the one that's coming to me right now is just like everything happens for a reason.
Ooh.
Just enjoy the journey and learn from everything, right? So I thought just somebody I recorded with yesterday said that one. And I think that's why it hit me. It's been on my mind a lot. Like my most devastating loss was in 2008 in real estate. You can imagine what happened. And I was just, angry and upset for years, and didn't get it. I did commit to trying to learn what I did wrong and from it and all that. And that was good. But I think it's taken me like over 10 years, like to really appreciate everything that happened to me and how much better I became for it, and now even like how lucky I am that what happened then happened to me. You know what I mean? So everything happens for a reason. So just enjoy it and learn from it and appreciate it.
I like that. I mean, oftentimes in my life, I look back and I think about things that have happened, whether it's, stuff with my family when I was younger or things as an adult. And I realized if any of those things had been different, I would not be in this moment right here with you right now in this, in this experience. And so I love that.
Yeah.
Life is a journey, not a destination.
Yep.
And along that journey, things are going to happen. So, okay, another quick pivot. We know you have so much excitement with doing the podcast that you're doing. What's inspiring you about having those conversations with people? Tell us more about what that's feeding for you in terms of your creativity or just
life in general.
Life in general. Yeah.
Sure. So first of all, you guys know I'm an extrovert. I love chatting. I love talking to people. I'm really curious about people. As you guys, I'm sure Bruce, you probably remember when we met. Like I always tried to, sit in a different seat next to somebody different and get to know them. I love to know people's stories, and from that, you just learn so much, right? And you really appreciate people for who they are. So. In our MBA class, I fell in love with absolutely everybody in the class. Like I love everybody there, and I love getting to know them, what we did, even though sometimes we got upset at each other. Or God, those group projects sometimes drove me nuts. but it was just such a great experience. So now I get to have that on a regular basis with this, and I get to ask people like their life stories and share them with the world. And I think I know it's happening. Like people are hearing it, and I didn't think it was going to be anybody but me and maybe my wife if I got her to, listen to those episodes. But people will just text me randomly that I haven't heard from in a while, or maybe ever, and just say, "Hey, that was really good what this guy said or that gal said," and I really learned that, or so that's really rewarding. I think I've also realized that I have two other values that are really important to me. One is community building, which is kind of how I'm thinking about growing the Wayfinder Show more into a community. Because I'll talk to, so you guys know, the conversations that happen off the air are often just as valuable, if not more valuable, right? So we'll be talking, we'll identify, our guests needing something in a certain area. I'll be like, oh, I just talked to this person here. Let me connect you. And then before the two or three of us are in this. So they realize, hey, I know a lot about real estate. So they asked me a question about real estate. And then before you know it, we're doing a deal together. We're looking at a building down in the Springs right now and syndicating one with a gentleman who put me onto it. And, they're like, that's incredible. I never imagined that. It wasn't done with ulterior motives for real estate business. But now I'm realizing there's just a lot of ways you can, connect and good things come out of it. And then the other one is connectivity. Just I'm realizing I really like connecting with people. I love the in the moment one-on-one conversations. It always I get more energy at the end of these conversations, and that's how I know I'm an extrovert. I come out of this just like pumped, right? And on the other, I think that this feeds some of that desire, like to connect more.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, 100%, 100%. In fact, I think that you hit the nail on the head. I think when you don't have ulterior motives, when you are not about you and you're about listening and getting stories from other people and kind of relating to one another and building those relationships as human beings authentically, that's when the magic happens. So you are able to say, oh, 100%. Hey, I know somebody that does this. And that's just genuine humankind. That's right. And that's what we all should be thinking about, instead of just how can I sell and what can I get from this person, instead of, oh, I'm going to help them. I'm going to connect them. I'm going to be that great connector of folks. So it's a superpower, and you definitely have that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. And the other thing is, at the end of these conversations, I learn, so oftentimes my wife and I'll go out for a walk after, and I'll tell her about it. And I find like I'm learning so much more about me, and we're learning about us with it. There's something that resonates, and, maybe not in a moment, but in the internal dialogue we have after, that just helps us grow so much. That's really cool too.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, Luis Hernandez, we have thoroughly enjoyed our time, as always, getting together with you and chatting for a little bit. I'm glad we could record one of our conversations, which is the second time since we've appeared on your show. Now you get to appear on ours.
Yay.
And we're really, really thankful that you would spend a little time with us. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yes. Thanks, Louis.
Yeah, thank you. All right, thank you.